So good morning and welcome, and thanks, Dave, for the intro. So we're both part of the Microsoft 365 marketing organization. Gabe will take you through the outline and the details of what is Microsoft 365 Business. I'd love to see who has already started to work with that or has been getting some experiences on selling that product. Then I'll come back in after Gabe's presentation, and then we'll run hopefully an interactive Q&A. So start to think about your questions. But definitely we want to get into a good conversation with you on this really exciting product that we launched at Inspire last year. And Gabe?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so like as Pascal said, we launched this at Inspire. How many of you guys went to Inspire last year? Okay, how many actually went to the keynote and watched Satya first 30 minutes? He talked about this new thing called Microsoft 365. Okay, cool. How many people have sold Microsoft 365 Business?
Oh, right.
Business, not enterprise. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is going to be fun and interesting. Yeah. I went to dinner with a number of guys last night, and I told them, please challenge me today. And so I will ask you all to do the same thing.
And if you don't, I will.
Yes, right. So for the last 2 years, like before I went into this mode of launching this product, I was actually on the SMB partner team, focused on SMB partners. So I probably know a bunch of you. I think I see Jeff Shuey out there. Steve Felding and I worked together. And I know Graham from PTG worked with those guys on the preview of Microsoft 365 Business. He will probably refer to it as BCS. And so I was that launch lead. I have spent the last 2 years. And before Microsoft, I was a system admin. I was working for a partner. I deployed Small Business Server. And so when they said, hey, Gabe, we want you to kind of go in and be this product marketing manager on this new product that we're going to launch, I was like, cool, I get to flex a little bit of muscle. Get back to my server days, get back to my Exchange days. And so that was kind of fun. And then I had to build all of this content. I had to build all of this material. And so you probably have seen my very tan face talking about Microsoft 365 Business on partners.office.com. I had a very nice summer after the announcement in Hawaii. I spent like 3 weeks on the beach. It was great. But I was very yellow. I looked like Donald Trump a little bit. So today we're going to cover like 4 different things. First, let's cover off trends, landscape. We'll cover off what the heck is Microsoft 365 Business, what we're hearing from many of you, many of your peers, and then just some keys to success. I don't have a lot of slides. Okay. I do intend on probably talking a little bit more around some of the stories that we've heard, some of the feedback that we have heard, and I want to hear from you guys in terms of where your challenges are with it. But I'm going to start in the trends space, right? Because I have just spent probably a good chunk of time kind of absorbing myself in the trends of what our customers are facing. And you'll see this one, our customers have a very complex environment. And you guys have been telling us for many, many years, hey, we need you, Microsoft, to build a more cohesive solution. I'm spending tons of hours piecing these things together, and they don't work cohesively. And so I need you to partner with me, to be a good partner to me. This is great. Skype, phones. We forgot to do the airplane announcement. Please turn your phones on airplane mode. They do interfere with the navigational equipment. No, you're not the only one. But really, we have these customers who have bought these solutions, and frankly, they haven't left them. How many of you guys have customers that refuse to move off their Small Business Server? Yeah, that thing was like the greatest product that we have ever launched, in my opinion, right? What's that?
Till it broke.
Till it broke, yes. Well, that's okay. We have an upgrade. Just get a new one. And so combine that with some of the things that we're hearing around collaboration, mobility. I'm not going to cover that, but I'm actually going to talk a little bit around the security piece. 43% of cyber attacks target small businesses. When we say that, that's actually businesses less than 100 seats. Now, of those people that suffer that breach, 60% of them are out of business within 6 months. Those that don't actually suffer a loss of their business, the cost to recover is somewhere in the range of $84,000 to $180,000. And I may be transposing where that for is. It might be 80 to 184. I'm going off the top of my head here. And so when we look at what that means for our customers, first of all, they don't think about security. They don't, right? PTG, I'm going to call on Graham a little bit. I was talking to Reed, their CEO, and he talked to me about a customer that he had where he was just spinning up an Azure VM, and he just wanted to put multi-factor off. It was going to cost him like $2. But the customer didn't want it. It took less than a week for that Azure VM to get hacked. Less than a week. So the customer went back and said, okay, fine, I'll pay the $2. They don't want to pay for it. But the reality is that these hackers are targeting small businesses because they know that they're not protected. And that's where you guys come in. That's where we come in with you. And that's where Microsoft 365 Business plays. Now, many of you have seen this slide. It's very busy, but let me talk about first what is Microsoft 365 Business specifically. Anybody heard of this best of EMS? Did you guys see that slide that we put out? Okay, please delete that. That is like the worst slide that I could have built. Instead, we have this, and I'm going to unpack what it really is. I'll tell you guys what it is in the background. I'll explain what these are. First and foremost, that productivity. It's business premium in the background, right? Couple things that are new and interesting to business premium that you may not be aware of. First and foremost, number one complaint about installing the Office apps that we heard from you guys. It doesn't include Skype. It now includes Skype Basic, okay? So, automatically installs. Second piece that we heard is, hey, we want e-discovery in it. Guess what? E-discovery is in Business Premium. Now in M365 Business as well. We don't have legal hold, but we do have e-discovery. That was a new interesting thing that we found out. Second piece, the enterprise-grade device management security capabilities, and then the simplified device deployment and user setup. Let me just unpack what that is. Have you guys heard of Windows 10 Business? Anybody know what that is?
Does your website know what it is?
We actually don't have a product description page for Windows 10 Business. But Windows 10 Business is an add-on or sort of an upgrade from Pro. There are no bits. All you need is Creators Update or later, so Fall Creators Update included. And what Windows 10 Business is it's enforcing the technology on the Windows PC to be enforced. So Windows Defender, forcing it to be on. Setting the screen timeout. Controlling whether people can use Cortana or download the apps from the Windows Store. That's kind of cool to keep them productive. We have demos on all of that. In addition to enforcing that tech, you get upgrade benefit to Windows 10. You do have to have Pro, though. So a lot of you guys probably got a phone call from a customer on a Friday, and they said, hey, I need a new PC. And you said, no problem. I'll have it shipped out to you in 2 business days. Customer says, no, never mind. I'm good. My employee starts on Monday. So what do? They run down to Best Buy, and they pick up a PC. What does that PC have on it? Home. Why? Because it's $100 cheaper. So when you go in and talk to them about Microsoft 365 Business, what you're going to hear is, what do you mean I have to pay $100 just to get this, in addition to the $20 per user per month? It's not good. We have to solve for that, okay? But that is kind of the reality that we live in, right, with our customers. If we had a way to make that work, very easily. If they knew what they were getting with Pro instead of Home, then we would have an easier life. But today we don't. So we are working on that. In addition, how many of you guys have played with Autopilot? Windows Autopilot. What do you guys think of it so far?
Not good.
Not good. Tell me more. What's that? For Windows Autopilot. Okay.
It's a good product.
Yeah.
You can't use their domain. You have to use your own Microsoft domain.
For Autopilot?
Yes.
There's no active directory integration yet, right? That's
Correct. Yeah. The whole concept of Windows, Microsoft 365 Business is it's joined to AAD, right? But we'll talk about that.
Those that it's actually been very good for our large customers that need to get away from having to look at on-prem deployments and application management before they actually get the boxes. It's solving a massive issue with imaging, Ghost, fog, all the things that we've done for over 25 years.
Yeah.
So good for those guys.
Yeah. I love Ghost. It was my favorite.
Are you talking to the OEM about a clean version of Windows coming down? Lenovo? That's the other problem.
Yeah.
Having to basically re-image it to get the crap off.
Yeah. 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 So I think that they absolutely are. Yeah.
Tell us what Autopilot is.
So Windows Autopilot is essentially a way for you to get a box drop shipped from the manufacturer or from the distie to the end user, okay? Not necessarily to the customer. When they boot it up, they're asked, because you have pre-registered that hardware device with that customer, they automatically recognize that that device is associated with X customer, and that end user is prompted with their username and password, and from there, the system takes over, does the out-of-the-box setup, saves, we'll say, multiple hours of time in deploying a box. Yeah. That's a good question. I feel like we probably could have led with that. What is Autopilot? But it does come with Windows 10 Business as a part of Microsoft 365 Business. The next piece, I'm going to cover this best of EMS, okay? And that comes with the device management security upgrades. What we've done is we've taken some features from Intune, and we have taken some features from Azure Active Directory, and we have put them into this product. So if you were to go into the back end, right, portal.azure.com, you would see that we are basically implementing 3 of the 25 Intune policies. There's some automation in there in Microsoft 365 Business to make it very easy. In fact, if you go to the website, you see the demo videos, or on YouTube, you'll see that we've consolidated it from, we'll say, 45 to 50 different settings in the Intune portal down to 15 toggles and a couple of drop-downs in the Microsoft Admin Console, also formerly known as the Office Admin Console. So it's that simplified management and bringing it all together, which is kind of great. One of the things that we've heard, Pascal and I have heard from a few folks, is look, the opportunity for us to standardize, right? Solace IT, who was showcased at Inspire, they love being able to, 1, get their customers onto Windows 10, and 2, being able to get everybody on the same version of Office and Windows. It reduces their support costs. The other thing that I'm going to call out on this slide is the automatic installation of the Office apps. That is kind of cool. One of the things that we have heard from all of you folks is that we need to have the capability to deploy the Office apps without having System Center. We've done that with Microsoft 365 Business. You could do it with Pro Plus. You can do it with E3. You can do it with Intune. But in SMB, we haven't had that capability because we have Click to Run. We don't have MSI. So, been kind of fun to implement that. It saves a bunch of time. I do have we do have the business apps from Office in here. Connections, invoicing. How many people have played with those? What do you guys think? Thank you. That was gentle. Anybody else? Okay, we'll stick with good start. I like that one. I have a video that I want to show you guys. It has not been seen before by anybody other than the team that's been working on it. But we partnered with PTG, and we deployed this customer on Microsoft 365 Business. Now, this customer is unique. The majority of their workforce is a first-line workforce. And so they're using components of Staff Hub, of Yammer, and they are really looking to use technology to kind of give back to the environment. I brought this in for two reasons. One, because it does showcase a phenomenal mobility story. And two, it was way too cold out this morning. So let me play that. Yeah, go ahead.
Quick question though.
Yeah?
On a Microsoft 365, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're not, the Windows 10 version isn't really that compelling, you're better off buying Office 365 and EMS than Microsoft 365. So the whole thing looks like it kind of hinges on whether you're going to do Windows 10 or not. Am I reading that wrong?
So, well, one, if you need full EMS, then yes, you should go that route. Two, it's more expensive to buy EMS and Business Premium.
Okay, maybe Intune, sorry.
Fair enough. That, yes, right? You're going to save $1.50 per user per month. So if you have a Mac shop, like I will not propose that you guys implement Microsoft 365 Business for every user. Like my recommendation is to pick the plan that works best for that subset of users. You can have Microsoft 365 F1. You can use Office 365, right? You can pair Business Premium with Intune. It just depends on the profile of the user. So yes.
It depends on the desktop OS that they're going to live on.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do have a Mac shop, like I would not buy Business. Save them $1.50. Why not? That's where you get lifetime value. Yeah.
I know you're going to play video. Just a quick question to
Sure.
clarify. If you have AD on-prem, Microsoft 365 is an only AAD plan, does not live hybrid. So if your customer needs to maintain AD on-prem, M365 is not a play.
Yeah.
That's a question.
Yeah. So and I'll repeat it because somebody with a wand is gonna throw it at me. So the question is, if somebody has on-prem AD, they cannot get rid of it, then this is not the solution for them. Here's what I'll say to that. Sort of true. We have text series, and we'll give you guys the link for this. But essentially, if they have AD Connect in there, they end up in, it's not a broken state, right? But they do end up in a state where they're going to pay the $30 per user per password reset. That's the average cost of a password reset for IT. It's about $30, $26 to $30, depending. And so, because when you do AD Connect and you have that password sync, your device is joined to Azure Active Directory. That's how you get the management. That's how you get elevated to Windows 10 Business. Okay? When you do that and it's time to reset your password, your PC, you can't do Control-Alt-Delete and reset. You have to go to a site, right? And that site is going to point you back to on-prem. And on-prem, you have nothing to log into to do that Control-Alt-Delete and reset it. So you have to call IT to reset that password. Now, in the world where you have AD, right now, without AAD or AD Connect or DirSync, depending on how you call it, right now you have a forked identity. Okay, you are logging into your on-prem, and then when you log into Office 365, you're prompt for credentials. Okay, call that a forked identity. In our text series, essentially what I'm saying is you can kind of maintain that on-prem AD by reversing the polarity. It's a Star Trek reference. So you join the device to Azure AD, you log into Azure AD, and anytime you need to access on-prem resources, then you have to auth over there, right? Benefits to that is you get the management of the Windows PC, and then you still have access to your on-prem. Now, longer term, obviously we want to reduce the reliance on on-prem and move it into the cloud. Azure's a great way to do that lift and shift, assuming that makes sense from a cost perspective for your customer. But here's the problem with SMB. Every customer is different. Every customer has different budget needs. So, like, I hear you. Yeah. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't solve the issue.
It doesn't solve the issue, but it is a short-term solution until you can say, hey, look, let's solve for this whole on-prem component. Because our vision for Microsoft 365 Business to enable that modern workplace is to bring everything into the cloud. Right? What happened in South Florida just a little bit ago, okay? I was in Miami last week at the Small Business Expo where a customer came up to me and he said that he needed a backup solution. He needed to be able to get his files backed up into the cloud because was it Harvey? What was it? Irma, sorry. Harvey, Houston, Irma, Florida. So when Irma hit, he actually had to go down to his office, back up everything into his Seagate drive, and he picked it up and left. And I said, what happens if you were too far away or you were in a mandatory evacuation zone or you just couldn't get down to your office? He says, I would have been screwed. I would have been out of business. All my files are on that device. So our vision is to prevent that customer from ever being in that situation where they could potentially lose their business due to a natural disaster. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to, go ahead. So, well, technically it's possible. So the question is, how do we have e-discovery without legal hold? You can still search, right? We've had scenarios where customers end up getting an attempted phishing attack, and they use e-discovery to figure out which employees were targeted, and then they just email them and have them delete. Like the scenario where they need legal hold, it's not useful, right? But that's where E3 comes in. I want to talk a little bit around the benefits to you guys now, right? The product is good, but one of the things that we have heard, or there's a few things that we've heard. One, increasing that profitability. This is around simplifying that sales cycle. So we're combining that security component, we're combining that device management, and we're combining that productivity into that single conversation with the customer. It's no longer 3 different conversations. The expanding services, so we'll talk a lot about that around, obviously with the new Intune components and the EMS components, you're able to offer more to your customers. That whole managed desktop. There's a conversation last night around, hey, what do you charge to manage the whole environment? That's a question that we have done a bunch of research on with IDC, and we didn't believe the numbers here in the US. It was over $50 per user per month. But that's what happens when you get into that full managed service practice. You're managing that desktop, you're managing the entire IT infrastructure, and you are kind of being that one-stop shop for that customer. The increased addressable markets there, this is kind of flimsy. If you want to expand into other geographies, like I talked about autopilot kind of drop shipping that PC, we're not quite there yet with the product, but once that full vision of the product is realized, then yes, you can probably drop ship a PC to an end user. And all they got to do is boot it up, and it automatically provisions everything for them. The customer retention piece is pretty cool. I don't think that we can underscore that enough. The whole 43% of cyber attacks target small businesses, like that is very compelling. And when you lead that conversation with your customer around how you can safeguard their business, that is going to drive that lifetime value with that customer. Okay? Anything you might add?
Yeah, maybe to add in there. Am I on? in terms of retention and the conversation around acquiring a customer and adding services, one of the things that we're seeing is that if you add customers and activate multiple of the workloads that you get within your Office 365 or your Microsoft 365, your retention really jumps up. And what we're seeing in particular our CSP practice is partners that have 2 or more workloads within their Office, so it's Exchange and SharePoint or Exchange and Skype. If you activate multiple of those workloads, your retention goes up to like 94%. So it's an important component of building that lifetime value and actually not spending money on acquiring customers on an ongoing basis, but actually working on keeping your customers, activating them and driving usage as a practice within your business. That will get you the lifetime value from that existing customer base. And then you can work through upselling and expanding more services within those customers as you then have the ability to think about competitors that may have sneaked in through the back door and that you're now able to actually replace with a far more complete service that Microsoft 365 Business brings.
Yeah. At our press event, we got an interesting piece of feedback from Garner Foods, kind of that customer that we showcased at Inspired. Solace IT was the partner that helped him, and he shared with us this story around security, right? Like, because everybody leaves a device on the plane. Everybody. I promise, at some point in your life, it will happen to you. It's happened to me already. But one of his employees, Dave, he's a sales guy. He literally left it in the front seat pocket, his PC even, in the front seat pocket of a flight coming out of LA, Southwest flight. And what happened was Brad, their IT guy, went into the portal and wiped the device. Okay? Great value prop to safeguard the business. Device is wiped. Then Southwest managed to find it, and they called Dave and said, hey, we got your PC. So they're based out of North Carolina, and in a normal situation, Dave would have to ship the PC back to Brad in North Carolina. He'd have to re-image it and then ship it back out. What happened, though, was Dave booted it up, connected it to the internet, and logged back in, and everything resynchronized. Now, he's in sales, so he didn't have any specific line of business apps that he had to download, so that was good. But the Office apps were already on there, and OneDrive automatically set up, synchronized everything, had access, and up and going within a matter of minutes. Garner Foods shared that with us, and he said, I love what Solace did. It wasn't what Microsoft did. He said, I love that Solace included that capability for us. Yeah. Like this product, and at Inspired, you heard from Chris from Solace talking about kind of the value that he brings to his customers with this product. Yeah. When we first envisioned this product, it was very small business focused, very end customer focused. I think that the reality for us now is that we want to make our partners the heroes with this product. Yeah. And so that's why we come here, listen to great start on some stuff, and hey, we need work on autopilot, because we are listening and we are making sure that we get that feedback in so that we make this a product that actually works for you guys. Cool? Okay, a couple other things that we've heard. Pascal, I don't know if you want to cover a little bit of this.
Yeah, so we'll actually get into some numbers, but what we did here is it helps the partners that we've been engaged with in the preview when we were, sort of in that Inspire timeframe up until October 1st when we officially launched. It did increase profitability. It is a $20 product as opposed to the $12.50 or $15 business premium product. It actually opens the door for a much broader conversation with your customers, from a very productivity-led conversation to much more of a modernizing your IT conversation, which is the top concern for a lot of SMBs right now. So it allows you to expand your services. I think Gabe gave a really excellent story around Solace, which is these types of services that really help you to differentiate you from the person sitting next to you in this room or your competitors that are selling into the same customers. And I think that piece of the cloud is, there's a risk of commoditization, but at the same time, adding these services will really help you to differentiate, and that extracts a lot of additional revenue or potential profit for you. And then again, that retention part, I think that what we've come to learn both with M365 Business as well as when we look at how our partners, and I'm calling out this CSP program that we're running, that activating customers, so not just focusing on the acquisition piece and getting a seat sold and we just invoice you either monthly or we'll send you a bill for a year and then we'll talk back in 12 months. That story doesn't really resonate well with where customers really feel that they want to get the attention and the support. But activating multiple workloads actually is doing a lot more to your business. It's helping you to really get that customer to recognize the value of the product that they've bought. And again, 94% I think is a pretty strong statistic of like the retention that we're seeing in partners that are doing that, as opposed to just selling Exchange or just selling a single workload and not spending time with the customer on activating it. So that's that retention piece. And then we'll go right here. So I said to get to some numbers. So we worked with Forrester on a total economic impact study. And these are sort of the ballpark averages in terms of the increase in managed service margins. And what we are seeing is partners that were in that early phase of working with us, they've seen about an 8% increase in that percentage of service margins. 10% in additional managed services being attached to the product. And then the 20% is the advisory services. And I think that is actually, again, where your differentiation comes in. Being a trusted advisor, being able to really understand the customer needs and the problems, and then having the product to back that up. And so this is data that we actually have on our partners.office.com website. We have the full study there. If you're interested in finding more of that, and we'll call out the URLs for that. But again, I think that this is just one of those elements in our product category that allows you to have a far stronger face and a far stronger engagement with customers, as that managed services piece, the retention piece, and then the additional components that simplify your sales story are helping you to strengthen that message out.
Yeah. Let me ask, how have, I saw hands, there was a bunch of folks who have sold and deployed M365 Business. I'd love to hear, like, how is that going for your business?
And let's promise to use the runners right now.
I know, they're like gonna throw something at me.
So maybe hands, and then we can, so there's rows here.
Yep. She's gonna run
So we're
down.
going to use one.
Try to be as far away as possible.
Yeah.
You do a good job.
So
Ooh,
Yeah, you're
it's
on. You're on.
I think you guys actually used a few words that my engineers use. You were saying earlier, things kind of work, things sort of work. It's as far as the Intune piece.
Yeah.
Not Intune, the
The-
autopilot.
Yeah.
Which is probably the best part of that product, is getting that to work.
Yeah.
Once those things are resolved, I think it's a beautiful product, and it's really going to have some legs. But as of right now, I think that kinda and sorta piece is still in there. So I think give it a couple more months, you guys will probably get it right.
Yeah. I think that, well, one, I would say the product does work. I think that the scenarios that you guys need to get lit up around deployment of additional apps, around removing the crapware, right, is what I've heard. Those are kind of additional features, capabilities that we need to bring in. So you're absolutely spot on. But the product does work.
There's someone on front here.
Go ahead.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
So where things kind of fall apart is there's great confusion over the version of Windows 10, especially since they've gone to fall creators versus this creators versus unicorn version. So it's tough when you try to install it, and our engineers are new to this whole thing, and they know how Active Directory works, they know how to do group policy, something that should be simple, they are stumbling over. So they're stumbling over, making sure they have the right version of Windows 10. They had to figure out that that was important. When you're adding the Windows device, do you do an Azure Active Directory join, or do you do the manage only special little link? There's different ways to do the Intune component, those aren't real clear. So there was a lot of learning by smart engineers on something that's almost a consumer-facing management idea. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of pushback from them on that, because they hate to be forced to learn stuff that they don't really like anyway.
Right.
So that's an issue. A big one for us still is IUR. It's always tough to sell something that we can't have access to ourselves.
Yeah.
It would be great if some competencies would give us access to business IUR instead of all the great stuff that we already have. One question on the Office apps. When it automatically pushes the Office apps, is it always the store version, or is it pushing the same exact 32 or 64-bit version that you would get as part of Business Premium when it's done automatically through Autopilot?
Yeah. Okay, so.
Bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Start with the last.
Yeah, we'll start with the last one, because that's low-hanging fruit. You're going to get 32-bit click to run, right? The same version that comes in Business Premium is what will trigger off and install. And I would say that also, one of the things that we want to do is kind of create groupings and settings for you guys to be able to customize, because one of the pieces of feedback that we've heard from folks is, hey, all of the finance department needs 64-bit. Everybody else needs 32-bit, right? And they would rather support 32-bit, right, because of all of the add-ins that you can get there. And so we want to have that customization for you guys. But right now, it's 32-bit only for everybody, or for the subgroup that you want to have it installed. The second piece around the setup and the addition of Windows is, I think, one that's super fair feedback. We did try to simplify it by saying, look, you need a pro license and you need Fall Creators Update only, or later, right? And we didn't want to get fancy, especially when we came into October and had Fall Creators Update. We were just like, Creators Update or later. So if you had something from April of 2017, then you were good, right? And once you're on Creators Update or later, then it just automatically updates and you're totally fine. But I think that's fair feedback. We should look at see how do we ensure that is easier for folks to consume. And then, I think that's, I don't work for Windows engineering. I don't work for Windows marketing. I sit in Microsoft 365 marketing. So I will say that even the whole joining the device to Azure AD is confusing. That's why I built a video on it. So, you have to click here. Don't put in your email, but click there. We did a mechanics video even on that piece, and that's super fair feedback. Remind me of the third one.
So then the IUR question.
Yes, the IUR. So let me ask, I'm just going to poll everybody. If we included it in IUR, would you deploy it within your organization? Wait, hold on. You guys need to tell me that you guys do not want the E5 security capabilities that you get as part of IUR.
We do both. We do both.
Okay, because you can actually configure all of the components of Microsoft 365 Business with the EMS IUR, with the E5 IUR. The only difference is you get Pro Plus instead of Business Premium, right? Because you can configure it. It's totally possible.
You can, but it's kind of tough to selectively remove the stuff you're not going to get in order to do a true comparison.
Yeah.
There's a lot of extra work.
And then have you guys worked on the demo platform?
Yeah, but that's setting up something in a demo is a lot different than actually using it every day. I could put my sales department into Business 365 or something like that and get instant feedback from real people that actually do work.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
So we focused on getting the demo platform out there for everyone to just get experience and being able to show it. I think it's a good poll in terms of, we think that the E5 use rights are far more valuable than the business use rights, but let's go and have that conversation and evaluate. I want to go to number 2 here.
And I wasn't going to comment on that, but I think there's a difference between features are great for IUR, but in this case, we actually need an environment where we can see what will happen in the real world, like was just commented. So features are cool. Whether we use the E5 stuff for that's fine.
Okay.
So maybe one more thing then to add in there is that Microsoft 365 Business will come out as a trial product. So you could actually use the trial. If you want to see what happens when you deploy it, you'd have a month to deploy it and just see what happens, and then not renew or not go to a paid version. So that might be an interim solution, as we don't have it in IOR and you want to just see what happens when you deploy it.
Yeah.
So the question I had, it's kind of going back a little bit to the AAD thing. We know that Active Directory on-prem and AAD are not even close to the same thing. I mean, AAD is a service, obviously, so we get that from a technical perspective. I love the idea of selling a $20 SKU. I think we all do. We like the idea of the CSP incentive on the back end of selling that SKU. That's awesome as well. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
However, should say the challenge being that, again, you mentioned a kludge to be able to solve the reversing polarity and Active Directory. As was mentioned before, engineers would say it kind of works, and we've done it and deployed it. We have a lot of clients that have said, hey, there's a $20 SKU. We'd like to buy that. The challenge being that dependency on GPOs, which we've been fomenting as Microsoft resellers in this organization for more than, since NT4 was gone away. Those dependencies on GPOs, there's a lot of organizations that need those things. So we know that AAD will eventually be a solution, has no GPOs, has no OUs. We like that. But as an identity provider solution, great. In the interim, trying to sell a SKU that says when there is AD on-prem, it won't work. People are looking on the site, asking for the SKU. They're trying to buy the SKU. They're sometimes advisor or direct buying the SKU. And we're coming in and saying, oh, now you have a hybrid environment. They don't know what hybrid means in that scale of business generally. And we have an identity conversation that has to disabuse them of the notion that they have a product that's actually going to work for them. So the challenge being from the marketing standpoint, we need to make it very clear at the outset, this won't work in a hybrid environment. Actually, it does say that on page 17, paragraph 14. But if you look at it from an engineering perspective, you don't find that until after the fact. So we like the SKU idea. I think the package has a niche. Like you've mentioned, you're also a fan of SMB server. That probably sums up a lot of these other issues. But was that passive aggressive? I don't know.
I thought I was one from Washington.
No, I think it was a good product for some people. But the idea is if we could find a way to let it exist for the next couple of years in a world where AAD is not the only kind of authentication mechanism. And as we move people into an identity management world where they have to do single sign-on, MFA, and things that are more complex with other SaaS apps, it's got to live there because even the smaller businesses of 5 people have those needs. We can't just assume that they're only an SMB play. I think even the small folks in the smaller organizations have to solve these larger problems. So just to comment on that, make it work, not sort of. And it would be a sexier product for us to position.
Totally.
So we're working hard on taking all that feedback from when we started with this product at Inspire and launched it in October. And we've actually just closed on another round of partner interviews and feedback. And I think we're hearing very consistent feedback. And it's landing well with the engineering team. And so we're not deaf to the feedback that we're getting. We believe in Microsoft 365 as a new category of kind of a new category of products that we want to push out there. This is a V1, and I think that is just really the feedback that we're taking is well heard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just alignment, partner ecosystem, both alliance partners as well as people like us in the partner space. But I mean, just tactically, just looking at autopilot, forget the end user perspective, but for we're the smaller of the CSP. I don't remember if that's tier 1 or tier 2 because it's confusing. But we have to basically buy through Ingram. So we don't have access to the autopilot console because we're a tier 2, and we've been told that we don't get access. Ingram does that. Well, Ingram doesn't know anything about any of our clients. So we basically have to log in as a client to do that. And then we're manually having to run Niehause's script to pull the file, to then put it in an autopilot. And anything that's saved, sure, it's a one-time event, but that time to just set it up the first time is very cumbersome at this point. And, it's a year.
Yeah.
And we know this is a V1 product, and we want this to, clearly this is the vision that everything's moving in this direction, but yeah, it's kind of just laying out what your priorities are and at least letting the partners know, here's the things we're really working on, because, I feel like there's lots of holes in AD and pure GPO replacement and autopilot and just features that are in Premium and the enterprise SKUs. It's all good. There's a lot of potential. It's just it's good to know what you're working on next so that we're preparing the right thing. Because right now we put one client on it in August, pre-launch, and we're not putting anyone else on it until it's fixed. That's the way we look at it.
Yeah,
so.
Sure.
Good. That's good feedback. And keep bringing the feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to one.
So just one real quick follow-up to what this gentleman was talking about right in front of me here. So as far as like the difference between using a demo environment, which I'm assuming you guys are talking about CIE.
We have both. It's actually lit up in both CIE and the demo.
Okay.
Demos.microsoft.com.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's definitely value in those, and I think that I've used both. I've used like the demo environments as well as I've also demoed my own environment to customers, and I think that there is power in using it on a day-to-day basis and seeing what works and what doesn't work from an engineering standpoint. But I also think that I've had a lot of success with customer demos where I've used my own stuff carefully, obviously, to make sure that I'm not showing anything I don't want to show. But there's power in saying, hey, we're using it as a business too. You know what I mean? Like we run our business on it, and so.
Yeah, it sounds like you saw my drum beat videos.
Yeah.
So
Okay, we go to two.
Fair feedback.
Hi. So I think it's a great product how you bundle a lot of things into it. So nice going on that. We did have some opportunities to use it, and I'll tell you where I think if you had this change in it, we'd have more people on it.
Okay.
We've all taken over networks where there's been a hodgepodge of different OSs, and the thing that gets us is the home editions. So if this turned down to bits to make a home a pro version of Windows 10, I think that would help out a lot.
Talk to me a little bit more about that, because we know that there's a $100 difference for that. Would your customers pay a little bit more for that upgrade?
You mean a one time?
Yeah.
No. Well, the one time is what's causing us angst, right? Your customers are not going to pay that $100. They don't want to do that.
I'd rather not burden them with that. I'd rather just say, pay this monthly fee. We'll fix everything for you.
So what if you had a user on home and we said, all right, for them, $22. Think they could eat that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. It's not our plan, but it's an idea.
There's a couple more things to this upgrade, and just in full transparency, right now, I think the process for that upgrade would mean a 5x5 code and a different front end to go and acquire the license. We're working through making that a lot more seamless, because I think that is right now what is creating most of the feedback and the blockers is it's as you're a CSP, you're not able to sell that license upgrade in that same single motion. And so that's what we're working through. We're capturing all of that feedback, and we're working with engineering on addressing those things in a more programmatic way. In the meantime, you just do please continue to give us where you're blocked and how we can help you unblock.
Yeah. How many do we find that there is, and I know we have a comment over here, so let me get to that, but let me just percolate this a little bit. Do you find that your customers, aside from the home piece, think about the difference, like how many of your customers, how many of the users are still on 7? Or maybe they might be on 8, probably not, but are they still on 7? Or are they mostly on 10? And what is kind of their reaction to upgrading? Think about that for a sec. Go ahead.
So I have a two-parter. First one would be how with unintended support with Intune, you don't get that. We have to go get TeamViewer unless that's changed. Is there plans for any integration with other solutions like Stream Connect or Log Me In to be able to do that? Because that's a key feature for still, even at this age, we can do a lot of automation, but that's still a key feature that I feel like we're kind of told to do TeamViewer. So is there a plan for that? And the second question, is there visibility for us to as a partner, look at all our Intune clients instead of going into one at a time.
Yeah. Okay. So on the team viewer, log me in type thing, I'm not aware of any plans as of yet, but I know that it has come up as a question on what do we do there. So like we have received that feedback. Second question, which is how do I view multiple customers? This one has been a fun conversation for us for the last 2 years. And you know, the Intune team, they just launched in GA all of the Intune APIs in Graph. So we're quite hopeful that Odin and other providers are going to kind of crack that nut for us. Because when we look at those scenarios, when you think of all of your customers, and let's say you have 10 customers of 20 seats each, can you ever get to a green dashboard? No. And that's the reality. Like Intune looks at their telemetry and they're like, you can't. So what are those scenarios that we need to enable, right? Like we would love to. It would make sense in certain situations. So how do you flag somebody? Let's say you want to just make sure, hey, across my 10 customers, all of the C-level people, I want a dashboard just for them. That's where, you know, the most risk is. Like we need to protect those folks, so maybe we create a dashboard for just them. So how does that work, right? And so that's where I think that the Graph API comes in, and where, you know, providers like Odin can build that capability and that functionality to kind of help you. Because right now we are struggling to say, how do we, like, how would we build that? But we are still listening and trying to sort that out.
Okay.
We just don't have a solution yet.
You have a question there? Nope.
No? Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
Oh. Okay, that's a long distance cross.
Throw it.
It's the Olympic mic.
I know. I know. This is going to be amazing. Do you have any jokes while we wait?
Well, no, actually, I'm not that funny.
Why did the customer deploy Microsoft 365 Business?
So,
Go ahead.
just a quick thing. We really want Autopilot to work, so if you can make it great, we'll all use it.
Done.
Just a quick note on the upgrading from home to professional, whatever. One thing we could tell our customers, because we're in a situation of you want to encrypt all your laptops, then we get into this odd conversation about these 5 people at home, these 50 people at professional. We can turn around and just skew up laptop encryption, right? And that they don't, you know, a couple bucks more for something like that. They don't. Most customers don't have a problem because they understand I need to buy this thing to get this feature. So if you could find a way to make that, you know, uplift to professional happen via SKU, like it just seems really easy to sell and not a lot of barriers.
Yeah, it's there's business things that we got to sort, and then there's technical, and so but it is like priority one.
Yeah,
one,
definitely
two, one.
between the one. You know,
Yeah.
You know, because they turn around and ask us, well, why do you let these? Why didn't you tell me these people had home? Well, it didn't matter until now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's right. Like, and it's funny because as soon as you get in there and you start working on it, it's like, wait, where did you get this PC? I had no idea this was happening. I don't know, Best Buy.
Yeah, correct.
So,
Thanks.
yeah. And the funny thing is, it's not all PCs. It's only some. So it's like it's not a blanket approach to it. So.
Yeah, and one thing that we actually didn't really touch on in any of the slides that we showed is, aside from the Windows 10 and the management of Windows 10, I think that, the piece that we do see partners really gear towards is this management of all of the mobile devices and being able to set policies on iOS and Android devices and being able to actually secure content within in that iOS device to just the Outlook app and not being able to copy data into the native apps, for example. So there's lots of value and features that are built in that are switching on with M365 Business, regardless of whether you're leveraging or able to leverage the Windows capabilities, with some of the limitations that we've talked about so far. Right?
So, anybody want to talk to me a little bit around Windows 7 to 10?
Okay.
Get up here. Awesome.
Okay. Mike's on its way.
Yeah, I know.
So in South Florida, we have a lot of clients that have Windows 7. I mean, a lot of clients.
Yeah.
And at the office, they have Windows 7. At home, they have a PC that they bought from Best Buy that has Windows 10 Home.
Yeah.
They do not like the look and feel, the maneuverability of 10 at all. I'm just from 95% of my clients in South Florida. I have about 160.
Okay.
They do not like it.
And how are you overcoming that? Are you?
How am I overcoming that?
Yeah, like are you able to bring them over that hump and say, hey, look, like I hear
So
you.
you have to, because it's out of support. You know, I tell them it's out of support, show them Microsoft Video, give them my quote, sign, good to go.
Okay, so you basically drag them.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fair.
I love the mic.
Yeah, that's. There's, no, so we're actually back on the row up.
Really? I wanted to.
Maybe you can just mic him.
If you want to keep it. Our industry, 23% have Windows 10 at this point. 72 are looking at it as a 2018 project. And if you look between small, medium, large, small is the worst, less the least penetrated market. I don't think our industry has the same problems. That it's not a look feel thing. I think a lot of people have it at home, a lot of people like it. It's just an inertia thing, and a lot of apps. And your Office 32-bit is not a viable solution at all at this point, especially with the memory bug. So that's the other piece, is that now Windows 10 is being held up because Office 64-bit add-ins are behind because no one was expecting the need to write that 64-bit add-in in 2017 and 2018, and now they're being forced to make something quick and dirty, and quick and dirty is not really good from an ISV standpoint. But I mean, that's why we see just huge potential in Windows 10. The devices and holding the OEMs to not supporting Windows 7 helps. Security features help. You know, everything is there to make it resonate. It's just the application compatibility is not the 97% that Microsoft says it is. And that's compatibility versus supportability.
Yeah.
You can say it's compatible, but my clients aren't going to say it unless their vendor says it's supported.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, that's fair. And just to update, it's 99 now. Compatibility.
So we continue to
Great lead in, but go ahead.
You're good?
Yep.
So maybe a different market segment, but a lot of our clients that are moving to 10 are being driven by automation because of scale. So those that can still manage all desktops from small, going back to that Ghost comment earlier, there's some that are still doing that. That's actually more pervasive still than the AirWatches and the mobile irons, which is a good product out there as well. And then some are kind of looking at Intune. But a big thing that we see in moving in that way is the ability to look at 10 Enterprise as a viable option, being able to use that Intune kind of automation to be able to now look at 500, 1,000, 2,000 or 3,000 devices where they can finally do it. So the ability for the environment, so 2016 server specifically, that has that GPO interaction is moving a lot of people to 10 to be able to manage it. Domain functional levels that are lower with 7 not interacting as well with 16 are at IT saying we need easier deployment of apps and OSs, therefore 10 equals yes. And the user experience, they kind of have to adjust because of compatibility moving forward. So in that, we could call it mid-market, but in that mid-market segment, or maybe SMC as it's been mentioned, we're seeing the adoption because of the ability to use newer versions of server infrastructure to manage those. Autopilot becomes a very compelling thing at that point, and getting away from imaging is kind of the holy grail of those IT departments. So we're seeing the move because of that more than does our app work, or because they'll certify those apps with their developers and their larger primary applications. They've got to be able to manage it, and 10 Enterprise gives us some solutions to that. I will say that in parallel, one of the things we're running into that is similar to the M365 autopilot-ish issue with turn bits on and off is the same challenge we're having in the Windows 10 Enterprise versus Windows 10 Pro update SKUs in CSP. To be able to deploy that Windows E3, Windows 10 Enterprise E3 SKU, you have to have Pro first to start all that. And trying to use that in place of an open volume or in place of an MAK or a KMS server has been a real challenge. We've had a lot of consternation around that. So probably a similar issue in the M365 world where we're trying to kind of turn it into something else. But again, all that aside, the push to be able to get the automated desktop is what we're seeing a massive adoption for 10, and being able to offer that license in CSP is a big deal.
Okay, that's good feedback.
Maybe one question on sort of, the work that we've been doing on getting all of our partners set up and ready to go and sell, and sort of Gabe is talking about the videos that we did, the materials that we produced and that we put up on partners.office.com. Maybe just a show of hands, who is using those materials, or partners.office.com, let's start there. Is that a location that you go to for any of your readiness? And if I see no hands, I'm getting worried. Okay, but very few hands. So that might be maybe, yeah?
Let's ask, show of hands, is this how many people, this is the first time you've ever heard of partners.office.com?
Good,
Shit.
okay, yeah.
Where's Brent? David? Okay, have you guys heard of Drumbeat before?
Yeah? Oh, no.
How many people haven't heard of Drumbeat? Okay, less people. Partners.office.com is like the new Drumbeat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Drumbeat's kind of gone. Okay, that's interesting. We're going to give you guys the URL.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't seen this face before, then
call yourself lucky. But
yeah, call yourself lucky. Then you haven't seen the readiness, right? Because I did all of the readiness.
So then we did tech series, and we did tech series, I think, in most of North America now for the past months. Have you attended any of the tech series events? Yeah, only
For
one.
M365 Business.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's probably an area that we'd love to better understand how we reach you with the right level of readiness materials, whether it's the marketing materials or the technical videos and the work that we do with Gabe on those kind of just training assets. But that's definitely then an area that I feel is needing more support. I see one question up front here. I don't know if you're fast enough to run.
Very quick question on partners.office.com, because I really haven't used the other one.
Yeah, sure.
So when I was asked to log in, I had to log in using my LinkedIn.
Correct. Yeah.
There's no way that I can do it using my my Microsoft account or my work account?
So you don't actually have to log in to get to the content. It will just make it more like a seamless experience. But this is not firewall like MPN, for example. Right. This is basically our content repository for any of the partner materials. LinkedIn can be used as an authentication.
Are you going to be adding any LinkedIn services to the 365 Business?
Not at this time.
No.
It's not. It hasn't even bubbled up.
No.
So why do you have it LinkedIn here?
Well, this is more to just recognize who the partners are that are coming to our site, and to be able to serve you up with content that is recognizing that you're a returning visitor. And LinkedIn is being used as one of the things on multiple of our Microsoft websites right now.
Okay, thank you.
As an authentication.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Really?
Nope. You just don't want to give it up. Okay.
I think there's some back
there
there.
was somebody back there, yeah. The blue shirt.
How many partner portals do we have?
Well, that was actually the quiz question for the end of this Q&A. No. We actually have partners.office.com, which is the Microsoft 365.
If you guys collectively sat down and thought about, from a partner perspective, how many partner portals we have to go to,
Yeah.
teams have to go to. The roadmap. And I love the fact that you have your own portal.
Yeah.
It's just one more portal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
With a different authentication.
add Yammer groups to it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
good feedback.
How about one?
Right.
That seems to be a popular.
So ultimately, all of this content is available through MPN, which would be your primary touch point for everything you want to know as a partner. What we've done here is we've heard the feedback that there's so much content, even if you go through the one portal on MPN, that we try to give you a little bit of a condensed set of documents that are the most fresh, related to new things that are easier to navigate. If the feedback is, hey, it's yet another thing that we now have to go to, good feedback.
So I think the frustration you guys are experiencing right now in realizing that none of us have seen this is because this looks like content that would have all come through the SMB channel prior to one commercial partner. And since that ecosystem just vanished overnight, most of us in this room, a lot of us had a practice that was SMB and then another practice that was, commercial and above, and we had two different sets of support, and we got lots of great Office 365 content from the SMB folks that the higher up folks didn't get access to. And now what's happened is we're getting great support in one commercial partner, but there's this complete vacuum for SMB content that would have been filled by those folks. So you guys have done all this work. You built a portal exactly to a channel that has vanished.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Like when we were launching this Inspire, like I think the field reorged and everything, and so I even was looking at Pascal and I was like, dude, is there anybody to catch this? Yeah. Luckily, David was here.
Yeah.
So I would say that the SMB GTM team has not just vanished. We are still fully functioning and working directly with our SMB partners. We have the SMB field folks that are still working with Brent and with Terrence Abrams as well. So if you are feeling that you're not getting the same sort of love, let us know. And again, at
message received, David.
Message received. So at 1:30, as I said, at 1:30 this afternoon in the lunch hall, the rest of my colleagues on the SMB GTM VAR team are going to be talking about what programs and services are available, and you'll be able to talk directly to any of us that are running programs. So I would encourage you to come to that, and then let's talk about what you're feeling about the lack of support from the SMB team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so to that nature, actually there is a very subtle and good point here. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is do not look at Salesforce support for its vendors as any kind of good model, because it is the worst model I have ever seen. So don't even look at it.
Okay.
But the mentality of a 10-person driven company, and I don't mean as a partner, but the people we call on, is a break-fix model. When they see you, they see it's money. They don't want to talk about anything that's preventative. They literally want you to show up when they want you to show up and go away when they want you to go away. And that's a different set of materials. For the commercial customers, of which we also support, because we've got two major humps, demographics. Then we've got the 100 to 200 employee companies.
Yeah.
And they have a whole different need of information and how they're supported. And if anything breaks in their world, you're a dog. Okay, they don't want you to show up when it's broken. They want you to never have it break. And so it is very important that the materials, like we can drool over these offerings for a certain type of set. I don't want to go to a site and find out, well, this is where the old offerings are. And yet you have to give us the pathway, because the message that we have to deliver to those customers in terms of what value they expect is so different.
Yeah.
And just put it in one place.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
And there's some short-term things I think we can do.
Yeah.
Like Partner Center is kind of the place. So like we just put a link to this in it, right? In the short term, and then figure out what we got to do long term. So yeah, point taken.
Good. More feedback there.
Yeah.
Quick question. I've heard a lot of people talk about some similar conversations that I have with a lot of our clients, which is it's the on-prem versus, I'm kind of going back a little bit, but the on-prem AD versus, pure cloud infrastructure. It feels like we're kind of in a middle ground right now where I think this will eventually solve itself through some type of evolution. But I guess I'm just curious it seems like the real solution to a lot of these issues is maybe a more seamless melding of on-prem AD versus, with the Azure Active Directory Premium, apart from just kind of our, what we can do today, which is federate, in a pure, new Microsoft infrastructure, it works well, to think we can, kind of move beyond AD. But, again, like one of the gentlemen pointed out, the second you put a, SaaS application or a third-party application that has requirements that, maybe it's only supported right now in 2008, requires SQL, requires AD, requires GPOs. It seems like the solution is just to, develop, some type of, more seamless marriage between on-site AD versus cloud AD. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about, and maybe just on a high level, what the discussions are internally about, where's the roadmap going for that?
Yeah, I think that we have, our vision is to bring all SMB customers to the cloud, period. So how we get there is really kind of what you're highlighting is which way are you going to go, Microsoft? How fast are you going to go? There's a couple of different ways that we could go, right? At Ignite, we announced this co-management capability, right? Where you can have a device managed both by on-prem, GPOs, right? Legacy tech, okay? And then also more of a modern stack such as Intune, right? There was an explicit decision that we made to not make that available in M365 Business, yet we also recognize that by making that decision, we are limiting our addressable market. Was that the right decision? I think you guys would say probably not. Does it force us to think very hard about how we solve this? Yes, it does. And would we actually reconsider that? I think that we're still having that conversation on whether we alleviate this short-term piece and enable more of a, as you said, hybrid identity. We don't have that decision yet. Like, I know that they're actively talking about it. So do we kind of cover off and increase our addressable market with an eye towards the future and removing the need for on-prem? Like that GPO that you highlighted, the GPO problem is something like I have been like asking, like which settings, what should we prioritize? And I've got a whole list from customizing the desktop to locking the desktop down. And so like these are things that we've taken back to engineering we need to solve for. And we would have never gotten there had we not said no to hybrid. So it has sort of forced us to think a little bit, and I think I don't have an answer, right? Like which way we're going to go because they're still discussing it like even today.
Yeah.
But I know that we will go somewhere.
Yeah, the problem seems to be in space requiring a fork identity.
Right.
Yeah.
Having that fork is what causes a lot of the, great, we can take you
Yeah.
fully cloud, but, there's so many organizations that for one reason or another require that on-site AD.
Totally. Well, look, I mean, I'll say it clearly. Like, for the last 25 years, Microsoft has come and said, hey, if you have more than 10 devices or 10 users, you need on-prem AD. That's what we've said. And now we're turning around and saying, look, we want, for SMB, we want to get rid of this on-prem AD. Maybe we put a little bit of the cart before the horse. Like, I think that's the feedback that I'm hearing here. So we need to solve for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Just in terms of GPOs, I mean, why don't you pull it out of telemetry or something like that, see what's actually being configured, and that's the ones you should work on porting over.
Yeah.
Instead of just feedback, because I think everyone's got their own priorities for feedback.
Sure.
And having the tool, like AirWatch does, that allows you to at least pull settings and kind of make fake GPOs out of things,
Sure.
at least where you can push things down. So it's nice. That's a good tool, but it seems like you have data sets that would help solve some of the problems of prioritization.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, we've gotten that list, right? So.
One other problem that we just noticed a couple of weeks back was that after a certain version of Windows, you can't add a computer to AAD without removing them out of their on-prem situation, and it's recent, maybe as of like a month or two ago.
It's always been that way. You can do
I know there was one point that you could join.
join.
There was one point that you could actually join the computer into Azure AD while it was still joined to the local AD, but you guys cut that off. So
that would be news to me. I know that there is a way to do a workplace join to AAD as well as being joined to an on-prem AD. But that doesn't give you the
we
full
were
management
at the
capabilities.
beginning when we started activating the enterprise seats, we were able to do it. It worked, and then a certain update came out, and then you guys completely cut it off. So as a workaround now, we're having it. Like if we sell Microsoft 365 or whatever, we have to disjoin the computer out, activate their subscription, and then rejoin the back of it to the domain, which is just creating extra work for us. And it's like the same thing everybody else is saying. A lot of SMBs, they can't get rid of AD for a lot of other reasons.
Correct.
So it would be a lot better if you were able to have both joined. Just a suggestion. It would work before, and it works when we do this workaround, disjoining and joining it. As long as you join the AAD first, you're able to join back into a domain.
Yeah, I think the feedback on hybrid or coexist is clear, and it's one of the 3 priorities for engineering to think through how we do that and how we actually do it in a way that it's affordable and understandable for our SMB audience.
Yeah. Okay, we have, I think, 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Anything else? Other questions or feedback? I've gotten a bunch today. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we got a lot. Okay, there's one more here.
You mentioned earlier you would not advocate having Macs or iOS devices with the Microsoft 365.
Right.
If you did, to what extent does it protect those devices, or does it do anything for them?
It does not protect Macs.
Nothing.
So it doesn't protect the device, but it does still kind of have all of the OneDrive. So there's.
It doesn't
You can't. It doesn't protect the Mac.
No.
Yes, it protects the data, but not that's Windows Information Protection. You can't remote wipe a Mac with M365 Business.
But with Intune, you pull into patch the Mac and do inventory and stuff like that on the Mac.
If you have full Intune, yes. We don't have full Intune. That's the problem here. Yeah.
I've told people that, telling them it would work.
It's good news.
Because you don't have my UR. I got, well, I got Intune, and I can do it in Intune, and I got this, so it should work.
Yeah.
But that's one of those little details that disappears when we don't have the exact package.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've heard also, I'm going to just make your point for you, is where are the service descriptions, right? Like,
yeah.
Yes, engineering is prioritizing that right now.
Okay.
And I would add another one is do a comparison sheet between MS365, MS365 E3, 365 E5. Do an EMS E3, EMS E5, and do the comparison with an Office 365. So you know exactly what is in the package and
Yep.
what is not in the package.
Okay. So.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Ready? It's done.
Click on it.
Yeah. So let me make your point. Partners.office.com/business. Scroll down to the licensing. Download the deck. I think it's slide 7.
Is that the same sheet that you had at Inspire?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's updated.
It's updated.
Because the Inspire one was wrong.
Yeah, I know that one. Yes. Yeah. Slide 7, licensing deck on partners.office.com/business. We've got that. And if it doesn't fit the need, shoot me a note, like on LinkedIn, or if you have my email. I'll fix it.
Great.
Anything else today?
Closing question.
Closing questions.
So there's one here that hasn't asked a question yet.
The word license is not on the page.
Have you gotten
licensing deck, Pascal?
Have you gotten feedback about adding cloud app security to this packet, to the business package or something earlier?
Yeah.
So I think that's a hidden gem in all this from a security standpoint. And I think SMBs need what cloud app security has to offer as well.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. We have gotten that one, as well as ATP.
Yep.
Yeah. Those 2 are on the list. But also you can just add it on. That's the cool thing, is like all of those E5 add-ons, other than PSTN calling and Cloud PBX, all those can be added on to M365 Business. So, yeah, totally. Did you find it?
You have to go under resources.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get it on the
Yeah.
we'll get it on that homepage, but it's up there. It used to be up there.
Yeah.
The agency must have accidentally removed it. So.
Okay. We'll get there.
Cool. Anything else today? Okay, guys. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for the feedback. We've gotten a few nuggets that we didn't get already, and I know that we'll have more for you guys probably in the next couple of months in terms of updates to the product. And then you've got some cool resources now that we'll get linked to from Partner Center. So thank you guys.
Thank you very
Thank you
much,
so much.
Gabe. Thank you, Pascal.